Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we're going to continue to read from Srimad Bhagavatam. We are Canto 4, Chapter 21, Text 42. We have already begun the purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, to Text 42. So, we heard yesterday Srila Prabhupada was saying that we should study the Vedas with faith, not only for ourselves, but also to preach to others, give the knowledge of the Vedas to others. A medical doctor, if he studied medicine, then he needs to cure patients. So similarly, we are studying, we are chanting, we need to give everyone the knowledge of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, chanting of the Hare Krishna. In this verse, the word Mangala, auspicious, is very significant. Srila Sridhar Swami quotes that to do what is good and to reject what is not good is called Mangala or auspicious. To do what is good means to accept everything favorable to the discharge of devotional service. And to reject what is not good means to reject everything not favorable for discharging devotional service. In a Krishna consciousness movement, we accept this principle by rejecting 4 prohibited items, namely illicit sex life, intoxication, gambling, and flesh eating, and accepting the daily chanting of at least 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and meditation 3 times a day by chanting the Gayatri Mantra. This meditation 3 times a day by chanting the Gayatri Mantra for those devotees who are Brahman initiated, who have taken the 2nd initiation. So Sridhar Swami is saying auspicious means do whatever is favorable and reject whatever is not favorable. So Srila Prabhupada is saying he's put the principles of ISKCON like that. Avoid all the unfavorable things, the 4 prohibitions, and then what is favorable? Chanting of the Hare Krishna. And of course, Prabhupada is also mentioning chanting of the Gayatri Mantra. But we have to understand that chanting our Hare Krishna Mantra is enough to take us back home, back to Godhead. Yes, if we are inclined to go further and chant the Gayatri, get the Brahman initiation, that's personal choice. That's, up to each individual. But the Hare Krishna Mantra, initiation into the Hare Krishna Mantra is sufficient to take us back home, back to Godhead. In this way, one can keep his Brahmanical culture and spiritual strength intact by following these principles of devotional service, strictly chanting 24 hours a day. The Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. One makes positive progress in spiritual life and ultimately becomes completely fit to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Because the ultimate goal of studying or understanding the Vedic knowledge is to find Krishna, one who follows the Vedic principles as described above can, from the very beginning, see all the features of Lord Krishna, the absolute truth, very distinctly, as one can see one's own face completely reflected in a clear mirror. So what is the goal of studying the Vedas? To go back home to Godhead. Yes, go back home to Godhead.
Find Krishna, go back.
I'm sorry?
To please Krishna also and to go back to Godhead.
Yes, to please Krishna. Here Prabhupada is saying to find Krishna. Yeah, it's all the same. Yes. So, and Prabhupada is pointing out that one who's actually following the Vedic principles can see Krishna in all the features as the Brahman, as the Paramatma, as the Supreme Lord. Very clearly, very distinctly. The conclusion is therefore that a Brahmana does not become a Brahmana simply because he's a living entity or is born in a Brahmana family. He must possess all the qualities mentioned in the Shastras and practice the Brahminical principles in his life. Does anyone remember yesterday what did Prabhupada say? What was the main quality of Brahmana? Or that we were reading in the morning, is it, with Bhagavad Gita? That what's the quality of a transcendentalist? Yeah, I think in Bhagavad Gita we were reading. Arjuna was asking Krishna, well, how can we understand who's a transcendentalist, who's a transcendental person? So Srila Prabhupada says, the main symptom is, does anyone know?
It was one of them was that the Brahmin, like if you he's a Brahmin if he is doing everything keeping the center Krishna, not for like the yagya and everything is done for pleasing Krishna. And if that Brahmin is doing keeping Krishna in center everything.
Yes, very good. Thank you. Yes.
And like
So the main,
even the food, like like they also mentioned in this one, they also said that the food, like if we offer it to a Brahmin, it is better if we offer it to, like to you also give an example to offer it to Vaishnavas. It is good to offer it to Vaishnavas than to Brahmin who are just Brahmin by name, by in the birth family, like they're just Brahmin by birth. Rather, we should offer it to the Vaishnavas. Like you said that the Haridas Thakur, he fed Haridas Thakur, Advaitacharya. So that is also one of the things.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And we must understand who is really a real Brahman, who's really a devotee. And how can we understand that?
By hearing and chanting and by studying the Vedas.
That this personality is really qualified to receive our devotion. That he is always engages in full devotional service. He's always engaged in devotional service. He's all 24 hours a day. Yes. Vaishnava. Okay. And Prabhupada, in the morning we were reading that what's the main symptom, Prabhupada said, because Arjuna was asking Krishna, what's the main, how can I understand a transcendentalist? So Srila Prabhupada was saying, sure, there are secondary symptoms, but the main symptom, the only thing he talks about is Krishna. He does not talk about anything else. He's just speaking about Krishna 24 hours a day. And as we just read above also, that he's constantly engaged in devotional service, hearing, chanting, serving, remembering. So how a devotee continuously sees Krishna face to face within his heart is described in the Brahma Samhita 538 as follows. People ask, oh, how can I see Krishna? Where is God? Let me see God. So Brahmaji is saying in Brahma Samhita 538, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Shanta Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shyama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindam Adipurusham Tam Aham Bhajami. The devotee, by development of pure love for Krishna, constantly sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Shyam Sundar, within his heart. That is the perfectional stage of Brahminical culture. So Prabhupada is saying, who is a perfect Brahmana? One who has revived his love for Krishna. He is a pure devotee. A pure devotee. So, example we can give, when we, for example, Prabhupada would say, the mother loves her son so much. She'll see her son's shoes, she'll see her son's bag, her son's belongings. So she doesn't just see a shoe or a bag or the belongings. She's immediately reminded of her son because the love is there. For us, it may be just an ordinary bag or a shoe or something else. But to her, no, this is my son. Immediately she remembers her son. So this is what the pure devotee, he sees everything as belonging to Krishna. So he sees Krishna everywhere. Krishna is also in the heart of the devotee. As Krishna says, I'm in the devotee's heart and the devotee is in my heart. It's always thinking of each other. How will this meter go?
Tesham aham.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Tesham aham pada sarojarenum.
Tesham aham pad
Saroj
saroj renum.
Arya Vaheya Dikiri Tamayu.
Arya vahe adikiritam ayu.
Yam Nityadabiprata Shupapam.
Yam nityada bibrata ashupapam.
Nashyati Amam Sarvaguna Bhajanti.
Nashyati amum sarvaguna bhajanti.
O respectable personalities present here, I beg the blessings of all of you that I may perpetually carry on my crown, the dust of the lotus feet of such Brahmanas and Vaishnavas until the end of my life. He who can carry such dust on his head is very soon relieved of all the reactions which arise from sinful life, and eventually he develops all good and desirable qualities. So dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, very, very powerful. This is what Pṛthu Mahārāja is saying also. He's the emperor of the world. And yet he's saying, I wish that I can always have the dust of the lotus feet of the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. And he's saying, anyone who has the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, then all his sinful reactions will go away. And he develops all good and desirable qualities. He develops love for Krishna. By the dust of lotus feet of Vaishnavas, one can get love for Krishna. It is said that one who has unflinching faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means unflinching faith in the Vaishnava or the pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, develops all the good qualities of the demigods. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarver gunes tatra samasate sara. Bhagavatam 5:18-12. Prahlad Maharaj also said, Nesham mati stavat urukramam grahim. Bhagavatam 7:5-32. Unless one takes the dust of the lotus feet of a pure Vaishnava on one's head, one cannot understand what the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. And unless one knows the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's life remains imperfect. Why? Because the goal of life is to know Krishna. Vedascha sarver aham eva veda. A great and prema pumartho mahan, Lord Chaitanya says, love of Krishna, ultimate goal. A great soul who has fully surrendered to the Supreme Lord after understanding him fully and after repeatedly undergoing austerities and penances for many, many lives is very rare. Bahunam janmanam ante, Krishna says. Jnanavan mam prapadyante. Vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. So Srila Prabhupada is saying. Such a great soul is very rare, one who's fully surrendered unto Vasudeva, understanding him, that Krishna is the source of everything. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. The crown of a king is simply a big load if the king or head of the state does not actually bear the dust of the lotus feet of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. In other words, if a liberal king like Pṛthu Mahārāja does not follow the instructions of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, or does not follow the Brahmanical culture, he is simply a burden on the state, for he cannot benefit the citizens. Maharaj Pṛthu is the perfect example of an ideal chief executive. So, dust of the lotus feet of the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, actually taking the dust, actually taking the dust where they have walked on, or also can mean to follow the instructions. Following the instructions. That's what Prabhupada is saying. Yeah. Following the instructions of the pure devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Deepika.
Yeah, Shilpa, I was just wondering, like Arjuna was also a very pure devotee and Vaishnava, and he was in the battlefield, and Krishna was trying to, explain to him he must do his duty. And sometimes we also, and sometimes we also have this kind of, thing in our mind. We feel the guilt of not doing something, but we have to do it. Same as how Arjuna had to, kill his own people. How did he really feel that time? I'm just wondering. I mean, he might have been feeling guilty also, like you said, that he must be seeing Krishna and everyone. How did he? I mean, I'm just wondering, how did he take that guilt? How did he face it?
So what happened was he was feeling guilty. That's why he said, I'm not going to fight. Right? That's what we have been reading. So he's like, no, I'm not going to fight because I'll take out the sins of killing my own people, All the sinful reactions will come to me. So he's like, no way, I'm not going to fight. So Krishna tells him, you do your duty without being attached to the result. And that's the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge. After Arjuna understands Krishna's position, because he says to Krishna, now I understand that you are the Supreme Lord of all that be. And Krishna kept telling him, you do your duty as a Kshatriya. And so Arjuna fought the battle without any guilt. He fought the battle with full enthusiasm, because he was doing it for Krishna, for Krishna's pleasure. So it's bhakti. You can also say karma yoga, because Kshatriya, Arjuna's duty is to fight, and he's fighting for the pleasure of Krishna. Is that okay?
I'm not sure. I was just thinking that, sometimes we have to stand up for the right, and we have to stand against the wrong, and you still feel guilty that, oh, do I have to really, you know, you want to, I mean, you want to stand up for the right, but sometimes it's just that situation, we don't have, we are not like Arjuna probably, so, he is, of
Oh, yeah.
course, in a, yeah,
So see,
so
it's something we have to understand, that Arjuna is a Kshatriya. It's his duty to fight. Now, Krishna is not telling an ordinary Brahmana or a housewife to fight. We have to understand that. Arjuna is a Kshatriya, so he has to fight. But the lesson that we have to learn is, each of us have to do our duty based on our guna karma, whatever it is. What is our position? And based on our nature, based on, taking everything in consideration, what is our duty? We do that duty without getting attached to the result, doing it for Krishna's pleasure, that Krishna will be satisfied. So Arjuna's duty was to fight. Our duty is not to fight. Am I being clear?
yeah, kind of, I mean, I'm just trying to understand this. I don't mean that fighting or, I just mean that how do you really stand up for the right when someone across you is somebody of your own, or you feel guilty of not being with them, and you want to avoid that or something like this. I don't know how to say. We want to respect
Or maybe
everyone,
the
seeing
person.
Krishna. We want to see Krishna
you
in everyone, right? And then it happens to be like, okay, they are our people, they are all Krishna around us, but they do the wrong things, and we don't want to, we don't know how to, maybe, sometimes those situations come, we just want to stand up for the right thing and get away from that, or something like that. I don't know how to say to you, but
So
you
see,
feel guilty to, oh, why do we have to do that?
so we have to see what is our intention. Is my intention to criticize, or is it my intention to help this person? So when we are coming from a place of criticism, that's not good, because again, we have to see, is it my place to criticize? Is my place, or what, Is it my position? But if we are coming with a good intention, what is my intention behind it all? Then we can have a very open conversation with them. That's the best way to go about it. Because you're speaking about a very some personal relationship, and in each personal relationships there may be some things that each of us need to learn, each of us needs to adjust things. So having a very open communication, it helps in that way, without having any bias of being judgmental or critical. Have an open, honest communication. Does that help?
Yes. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Yes, of course, we have to see Krishna in everyone's heart, this, that, but we do have relationships. In our relationships, we do need to work on them. And so, yes, open, honest communication always helps.
And also we should see that
with
the
a
other
place of
person is
humility.
not seeing the same as how we are seeing. That person
Yes.
doesn't see like Krishna is in everyone's heart. So, right? So
Yes.
we do what we need to do, right? I think.
Yeah, and and the approach should be not judgmental, not critical, but coming from with a good intention, with humility,
Yeah.
with tolerance, and as Sneha said, trying to understand the other's perspective too. Yeah. Is that good?
Yes, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in today. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.